if you're like me, you own a lot of clothes that are from different countries and made in different countries. But what if I told you that the clothes that you might be wearing even now have been made by people who work in conditions that are unhealthy? People who work 10 plus hours a day just to make wages that aren't even going to be able to sustain them in their living conditions at home. I hope this isn't me trying to call you out or trying to make you feel guilty, because I'm not. My attempt today is to inform you about companies such as Nike, a very popular company, who use these methods as a way to try to save money, and also as a society how we continue this cycle of almost a social injustice around the world, and also the future of these methods and how they can change. So sweatshops is generally the term that are stereotypically kind of used to generalize this labor method. It's kind of just like the idea is putting a ton of workers in a room and they're sweating and working in these hard conditions, these unethical conditions, and that's mainly where the word sweatshops comes from, and that's where mainly this connotation of inappropriate manual labor comes into play, especially for the garment industry. Nike has been accused, and rightly accused, of using this type of method. And in 1997, Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike, actually came out and said, yes, we've been using these methods, but we're not going to anymore. But since then, in 2011, there was a girl in Taiwan who was reported to be physically kicked because she was unable to work, and also women in Muslim environments were constantly degraded verbally in environments, and were able to come out when they were finally fired. So in 2011, this came out. So this kind of continues with almost this need by the society. In economics, you kind of have this basic understanding of you have the supply and then you have the demand. The country or people, consumers, create the demand by wanting certain products, by buying certain products, they create a certain demand. Businesses provide the supply, and how they do that is often by taking almost these shortcuts to try to get cheap labor so they can make bigger returns on profits. And also this kind of comes from the difference of what it costs to buy a product versus what it costs to make a product. So obviously it's a lot cheaper to make the product, and that's where you make your money, because you have people pay more to buy the product. And unfortunately that comes out on the workers themselves. And then you also have this problem of the government, both the US and foreign governments, who are unaware of Nike or other companies utilizing these sort of methods, and also just countries in which you find these sort of methods in developing countries where the government is less stable. And that's kind of how they're almost able to exploit or utilize ways to increase their wages as they come, or their profits as they come. I'm just going my notes here. And so this is kind of a problem where I wish I could dive more into but it's a problem that exists, and it's a problem that's prevalent. And I don't want to say that it's unchangeable and it's inevitable, because it's not. And sometimes it kind of takes sacrifices on us as a society. It takes us to raise awareness about certain things that are going on. So telling people like, hey, do you know where your products are coming from? Like, do you know that Nike has had a history of using these methods, and they have made efforts to improve these methods, and they've come out with lists of companies that they have in different countries to keep themselves accountable to themselves, and also to the government who's trying to enforce these laws. And also it's just understanding that the need to have knowledge of your products that you buy is imperative. You need to know where you're buying things from, because otherwise you're just buying into the system of just perpetuating a cycle that only causes someone to suffer. Nike sweatshop labor in 2013 was given a list of sweatshops they had used, and also ones that they have stopped using. and this goes back to the list I was using for them to keep accountable, is that they've been trying to make themselves more adaptable and more ethical as a company, because they aren't trying to do this intentionally. They aren't trying to take advantage of people. It's just how things end up working out, and they know this, and they're trying to keep their status as a huge company, and at the same time trying to make sure they're doing it at the right means. So I'm not saying go and sell all your possessions and go and get rid of all your Nike stuff, because that's not necessarily the right response, and it almost kind of emits this response of guilt. And sometimes things out of guilt are short-lived and even short-tempered and just not really from the right heart. And so I'm just here to inform you of just the things that you're doing do affect people, and even the things that you're buying as a final product started out as something even worse. So I hope that this informs you, and I hope that this was good for you, and I hope that I didn't make you feel like I'm judging you or that I'm convicting you, because I'm guilty of doing it too. And I hope and pray that we can continue to do that together. Thank you.